So today we'll be going for the remedial part. So there will be two parts of Saturnian remedies. Today we'll be looking at the first part, and on next Saturday we'll be looking at the final part, and that will conclude the masterclass on Saturn. And then maybe we can have another masterclass on, say, Rahu or maybe Ketu, or even on Mars if that is possible, or maybe we can look at other topics like combustion or maybe retrogression and so on. Okay, so I'll
Sir,
just
sir, request to do K2 because K2 is very less discussed. And
your voice is not clear, Dr. Saab.
sir, request is to do on K2.
I will surely consider so.
K2 is less discussed and a lot of things to be learned from K2. That's
You're
why.
right.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll just start my screen sharing and then maybe everyone can see. All right, so understanding Saturn and its remedies. This is the fifth part of the ongoing masterclass. So hopefully everyone can see the application. Okay, so Saturn remedies. Saturn, it is the Karaka for sufferings as it represents our misdeeds in this and previous lives. So Saturn has been said to be the Karaka for Dukkha. Okay, and obviously Dukkha brings with it a lot of sufferings, right? And it represents our misdeeds in this and previous lives. So whatever misdeeds we have done before our death, those misdeeds are represented by Saturn, and whichever house Saturn is placed in, that house represents the misdeeds that we have done in our previous lives. Okay, and based on that, we are given an opportunity to do course correction of our karmas, right? So that is how we look at Saturn. So Saturn ensures everyone suffers their bad karma. So it is the responsibility of Saturn to see that everyone suffers their fate. He is the ruler of our fate, of our destiny, so as to say. And what one of my jyotish gurus, Shri Pandit Katinarahari, he says that you can bribe every graha except Shani. And this is something that everyone would agree with, because, if you do remedial measures, if you do a remedial measure for Jupiter, that remedy will start working maybe within a month or maybe within 40 days, which is also known as a mandala. But if you do a remedy for Saturn, that will take almost a year or maybe more than that to work, because Saturn ensures that whatever you have done, you reap the good the good karma or the bad karma that you have created by your actions. Okay, so now interestingly, there are two ways of purifying Saturn. So the way of Vishnu or Krishna, so this is a more gentle way where you just wash your bad karma, and the purification happens by the mode of forgiveness. Okay, so you're just washing your bad karma by invoking Vishnu or Krishna, and you are purifying those karmas by means of forgiveness. That means these great gods, they are giving you the intelligence to perform good karma, so that Saturn actually cuts some slack and is gentle with you. Or then comes the more aggressive way, the way of Shiva or Bhairava, Rudra, Surya, or Hanuman. So these are, of course, various other forms of Shiva. Of course, Bhairava, we know he is a very fierce form of Shiva. Then comes Rudra, which is the ancient form of Shiva. Again, Surya is Shiva is Surya in all the signs, right? And then Hanuman, who is regarded as the 11th Rudra with avatar. So this involves burning your bad karma, and this is purification by punishment. So this is a more harsher way. Okay, we have often seen astrologers and others recommend reading Hanuman Chalisa for all saturnine problems. Of course, that is a good remedy, but you have to know why you are doing that remedy, instead of just blindly following a blanket remedy. Okay, so this is a purification by punishment. So as Shiva dissolves your karmas, the punishment becomes very, very heavy. Suppose something was supposed to happen 10 years later, and then you started worshipping Shiva for a saturnine problem that you are facing. So when Shiva dissolves that karma, what happens is the activity that was supposed to happen 10 years later comes in front of you all of a sudden, and you are left with nowhere to run. Okay, so that is why it is, it is such a harsh way of purifying Saturn. Nevertheless, let's look at the ways. So Saturn is naturally slow, blocked, dirty, and contracted. So these are all the qualities of Saturn. He is slow because he is known as Manda, right? He blocks your pathways. He is dirty, and of course, he is contracted. So every time, every time you see a Saturn, a person who has a very prominent Saturn in the chart, that person would not care much about maintaining personal hygiene or, maintaining his his clothes, or maybe he will be shabby in appearance. So that is the signs of a prominent Saturn. Okay, so by prominent Saturn, I don't mean Aquarius Lagna or Capricorn Lagna, or I don't mean Aquarius moon sign or Capricorn moon sign. Saturn may be anywhere, but if it is very, very strongly placed, he will produce those results in the chart. So what BPHS says is, I said that prominent Saturn does not only mean someone whose Lagna is Aquarius or Capricorn, or whose moon sign is Aquarius or Capricorn. I said that Saturn may be anywhere in the chart, but if he is very, very well placed, or if he is very well placed in an Avamsha, then these qualities can manifest in the individual. So what the chapter 5 verse 21 of Brahat Parashara Horashastra says is that Saturn can be worshipped as Vishnu. So this is by Parashara. Okay. Does prominent Saturn mean shabby person or afflicted? It means the person can be shabby in appearance. It means the person might not care much about personal hygiene and things like that. Okay, it is not, I'm not speaking about afflicted Saturn. So these are not my words. These are Parashara's words. What he says is Saturn can be worshipped as Vishnu. By worshipping Saturn as Vishnu, one purifies Saturn, removing all the dirt and tamas guna. So Saturn, he is a tamasic planet, and by worshipping Saturn as Vishnu, one purifies Saturn, right? So once Saturn is purified, he starts giving good results. Vishnu is all pervasive everywhere. This expansive vibration removes the constricting energy of Saturn and ensures that Saturn gives beneficial results by getting a proper space for work. So Saturn needs to work. Saturn is a natural worker. He is always working. If you look at the legends of the planets, or the stories associated with the planets, the profession of Saturn is an oil presser. All day and night he presses oil. So for working constantly, he needs a proper space. So the expansive vibrations emanating from Vishnu is believed to remove the constricting energy of Saturn, so that Saturn starts giving beneficial results to an individual. All right. So purification mantras, we'll first look at how Saturn is placed in the houses, and then we can go for the other remedies. So the basic mantra to purify Saturn is Om Vishnave Namaha. So this is the absolute basic mantra. Okay. When Saturn is conjunct or aspecting the Lagna, D1 or D9, the Bija Hum is inserted into the mantra, making it Om Hung Vishnave Namaha. Okay, so you can pronounce Hum as Hung also. This is a proper way of doing it. But even if you say Hum, it is corrected, because only your mantras will not do the work. Your faith is also very, very important. Okay, so Hum or Hung Bija is inserted into the mantra whenever Saturn is conjunct or aspecting the Lagna of the Rashi chart or the Navamsha chart. If Saturn is aspecting the D9 Lagna, it brings older people or an older spouse into the person's life. The above mantra ensures that those older people will help the native to flourish instead of blocking their paths. So if Saturn is aspecting the D9 Lagna, it is a big possibility that that an older spouse or maybe some old people can walk into the person's life, and to ensure that those people are not actually blocking your way, or to ensure that those people are actually helping you to flourish, this mantra Om Hung Vishnave Namaha can be used. Okay. When Saturn is conjunct or aspecting the Arudha Lagna, the image of a person takes a beating. So Arudha Lagna is your image, right? I'll tell you the way to chant the mantra, because at the end of the class, I'll repeat the way. So when Saturn is conjunct or aspecting the Arudha Lagna, the image of the person takes a beating. So Arudha Lagna is all about your image, right? Arudha Lagna is all about your image. how the world looks at you is seen through the Arudha Lagna and the aspects on the Arudha Lagna. Okay, so whenever Saturn is conjuncting the Arudha Lagna or aspecting the Arudha Lagna, the image of a person will take a beating. Acknowledgement is slow to come and they get recognition only later in life. To purify the Arudha Lagna from Saturn's influence, the following mantra must be used. So this is the mantra if Saturn is aspecting the Arudha Lagna or Saturn is present in the Arudha Lagna. So it is Om Shring Vishnave Namaha. So what we are basically doing is that we are taking the mantra Om Vishnave Namaha and then we are adding the Bija Hum or Shrim according to our necessity. If Saturn is damaging the 7th house or the A7, the Kama Bija, Klim, is added to the mantra that fulfills the desire to marry or get a spouse. So if Saturn is damaging the 7th house by its presence or aspect, or the A7, what is A7? A7 is the Arudha Pada of the 7th house. Okay, A7 will show you where the spouse is coming from, right? And if you look at the Arudha Padas of all the houses, it is very, very easy to, to remedify your chart. Okay, we'll have a class on Arudha Lagna shortly, right? So if Saturn is damaging the 7th house or the A7, this Bija is used to, to prevent delay of marriage. Okay, so if anyone's marriage is getting delayed, or suppose if anyone is not, is not getting married despite having the desire, then this mantra will work beautifully. Okay, so Klim, it is the Kama Bija, the Bija of desire, and the mantra becomes Om Kling Vishnave Namaha. When Saturn is causing problems in the 10th house or to A10 by presence or aspect, the person will be forced to work hard despite already doing hard work. Saturn's conjunction with the Lord of A10 creates the perception that the person is not working hard enough. So as I said, Arudha is all about the image that you have, your public image. So whenever Saturn is in the 10th house or aspecting the 10th house or in A10, A10 is the Arudha Pada of the 10th house. Okay, so it gives off a perception that the person is not working hard enough. And for both these issues, the mantra to be used is Om Ring Vishnave Namaha. So we have covered, we have covered 3 kendras, basically. We have covered 3 kendras, right? Yes, so we've covered 3 kendras, and not only we have covered 3 kendras, we have also, we have also covered the Arudha Lagna as well as the I'll come to Upapada Lagna. Okay, I'll come to Upapada Lagna. We have also covered the Arudha Pada of the 7th and the 10th house. Okay, so this is important to understand. Trines to these kendra positions will use the same mantra. Okay, so for example, Saturn in 11th house is trines to the 7th house. So if Saturn is causing, if Saturn is causing problems in the 11th house or the A11, then similar to the 7th house, the Klim Bija will be used for purification of Saturn, and the mantra will become Om Kling Vishnave Namaha. Okay, so this is how the Bijas are used. Okay, so for the 1st house, it is Hum. For the 4th house, it is Shring. For the 7th house, it is Kling. And for the 10th house, it is Ring. Okay, so just remember this diagram. This will give you a good idea. So for the 1st house or the 5th house or the 9th house, the mantra for Saturn will be Om Hum Vishnave Namaha. For the 4th house, then what are the triangle positions to the 4th house? 8th house and the 12th house, right? So the 8th house and the 12th house will, if you are looking for purification of Saturn in the 8th and the 12th as well, then you will be saying, or you will be reciting Om Shring Vishnave Namaha. Again, for the 7th, 3rd and the 11th house, it would be Om Kling Vishnave Namaha. And for the, for the 2, 6, 10 houses, it will be Om Ring Vishnave Namaha. So this is how you will change the Bija according to the requirement. And if you are, if you are facing a lot of Saturnine problems based on these houses, but your mantras are not working, then maybe you have not got the Bija correctly. So please look into this, whatever mistakes you are making. Exception, if Saturn is in the 8th house, the Ashtakshari or the 8th syllable mantra is the best way to purify Saturn, and that goes by Om Namo Narayanaya. Okay, so I've said that if Saturn is in the 8th house, then Om Shrim Vishnave Namaha would be used for 4, 8, and 12. Om Shrim Vishnave Namaha will be used, but this is the exception if Saturn is in the 8th house. I'm not saying about aspect, nor am I saying about presence. Sorry, nor am I saying, you know, about Drishti, right? Rashi Drishti or Graha Drishti, whatever you say. I'm saying that just the presence of Saturn in the 8th house. Then in that case, you will be using Om Namo Narayanaya. Now we see the relationship between Saturn and Sun, right? So Saturn fulfills the agenda of the Sun. So this is very important point to note. You know, we've always been taught, or we've always heard that the Sun and Saturn are great enemies, the father and son. They, you know, they do not get along. They do not get along each other very well. But then what Saturn does is that he fulfills the agenda of the Sun, because as we have studied in the basic Jyotish class, also even in the Panchanga, the Sun is the creator of all your resources. So for punishing you for all your past life karmas, the Sun assigns the responsibility to Saturn. Okay, so Sun is the Karaka of life and vitality, as well as the Bhava Karaka of the Lagna. Okay, so the Surya is regarded as the universal doctor. And because he is regarded as the universal doctor, he is the Karaka of life and vitality. And he is also the Bhava Karaka of the Lagna. That means he is the Karaka of the first house. So by strengthening the Sun, one removes the depletion of Saturn. So whatever problems you are facing due to, you know, due to a malefic Saturn or due to a debilitated Saturn, those can be solved by strengthening the Sun. Okay, so why I'm not, you know, this trend of, you know, going to Shani temples and then offering all sorts of things to Shani Maharaj. This is a very new, you know, this is a very new concept that has come up in the recent years. But what the scriptures say that Saturn can be worshipped only in a Navagraha temple. Okay. Now all of us are, you know, not very lucky to have a Navagraha temple in our place. Okay, we have it in Guwahati. We have one in Guwahati. But then there would be many others where Navagraha temples would not be present. So in that case, just strengthen the Sun so that the obstacles created by Saturn are removed. Okay. So Saturn afflicting Lagna. So this is Saturn in the first house. Okay, this is Saturn in the first house. Just tell us the home process to give Surya Arghya in the morning. This is very easy. You see, to power up Surya, you have to give power to Rahu. Okay, this is the basic, you know, this is the basic premise. Without Rahu, the Sun cannot operate, and without Sun, Rahu cannot operate, because Rahu is the reflection of the Sun. Okay, so wake up in the morning, do this process before 10 o'clock. That would be good. Okay, not 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Look at the Sun and offer, you know, offer water to the Sun by saying Om Suryaya Namaha, or just reciting the Gayatri mantra. That is the only process. Okay, and ensure that you are looking at the Sun through the falling water. How the water is falling through that copper vessel or copper lota, whatever you take, look at the Sun through that water. That will strengthen Rahu. Okay, because then you're looking at a reflection of the Sun in the water. Into plants, it can be anywhere. There is a misconception that the water should not fall on the feet, or your feet should not touch the water that has been offered to the Sun. That is a misconception. It can be anywhere. What if you are living in an area which is an apartment where there are no plants? What do you do then? Still the Sun is, you know, the Sun is not telling you that, okay, you don't have any plants, you are living in a concrete jungle, let me not shower your light on you. So the Sun does not tell that to you, isn't it? So this is for everyone, okay, irrespective of where you are living, right? Okay, so when natal Saturn afflicts Lagna by presence or aspect, do we need to add red flower? No, red flower is only for getting a specific job, and that is a very specific technique that is there, and that is given according to the chart. This is not a generic remedy, Dr. Saab. So when natal Saturn afflicts Lagna by presence or aspect, then health problems arise due to Vata dosha. So as we know, Saturn is the ruler of Vata, right? Saturn is the ruler of Vata. So due to Vata dosha, there would be health problems whenever Saturn is in the Lagna, either by transit or by natal presence. This brings more tamas into the person's life, making them lazy or sullen. So this can often happen if you look at someone whose Saturn is in the first house. They would often be very lazy, or they would be very sullen because of the increase of tamas quotient. Remedy is to worship the sun along with Ayurvedic remedies like ashwagandha. So you can take some ashwagandha powder and consume it with some warm water early morning on an empty stomach. That would be a Ayurvedic remedy. And the mantra remedy is Om Grine Surya Adityaya. So this is a kind of a Surya Gayatri mantra, and this works very well in my personal experience whenever Saturn is afflicting Lagna. Okay, just give me a break for 2 minutes. I just have had a power cut. Just give me a break for 2 minutes. So how to apply ashwagandha as powder to take with food or as oil? No, Dr. Saab, you just take some ashwagandha powder, but ensure that this is a very, organic ashwagandha that you are having. Put it in your mouth and then consume it with, warm water. You can mix some ashwagandha powder with warm water and then drink that solution. That would be enough. So this is the Roga Daridraya Nashanam Ravera Mantram. Okay. So this is mentioned in the BPHS. If Saturn is afflicting Lagna and finances are suffering instead of health, then the following Surya mantra is said to remove disease and poverty. So sometimes when Saturn is in the Lagna or when Saturn is transiting the first house, then instead of health, your finances could suffer. Okay. So this is one, mantra to remove disease as well as poverty. So it is Om Hring Grini Surya Adityaya Shring. Okay. So we're adding 3 Bija mantras here: Hring, Grini, and Shring. Right. So Saturn transiting Lagna continued. Saturn, as the lord of Vata, causes health problems. It depletes the body and makes it age faster. So this is why, Saturn is regarded as the Karaka of the 8th house, because from the day it is born, Vata is constantly ensuring that your body is taking 1 step per day towards its grave, right? Because Vata is air, and we know that, cells die in the presence of air. So every time air gets into the body, it will deplete the body, and that will make it age faster. That is the reason you'll also see if someone has a Saturn in Lagna, it can make them look very older as compared to their biological age. It can also cause dental problems or other causes of decay, including financial ruin. So Saturn can also cause teeth problems. Teeth problems are not only due to Saturn, but suppose your Saturn is in Lagna and Mercury is also afflicted, right? At the same time, this is transit Saturn. This is not natal Saturn. Okay, so suppose Saturn is transiting your first house and Mercury is also afflicted, then it can cause dental problems as well as tooth decay, including financial ruin. The remedy is to worship Shiva in the form of Kala Bhairava, in the form of Bhairava, by singing the Kala Bhairava Ashtakam. So this is easily available on all, on across the net. So the key is to sing the stotram. Okay, not to just recite it just recite it mechanically or robotically. Just sing the stotram. Why sing? Can anyone tell me this? Why singing? Just a small guess would do. Why singing? Why have I asked you to sing the Kala Bhairava Ashtakam instead of reciting it?
Because Shiva is very irritated in Kalbhairava, so you have to please him.
No, Dr. Saab, no, because singing is attributed to Mercury. Okay, so every time you're singing the stotra, you're not only doing a remedy for Saturn, it is also a remedy for Mercury. Okay, this is how you look at it, right? The sun is rhythm. Okay, the sun is rhythm. Singing is Mercury. Okay, the moon is emotions, right? The moon is emotions. And I'm just talking about Sattva Graha. Jupiter is your ability to, is our ability to expand, right? All of us have inherent ability to expand. That is Jupiter. Anyways, right, Bikong will start singing from tomorrow. This protects the Lagna and purifies toxins and negativities. It brings strength to the body and creates a wakeful, energetic mental state. So singing this Kala Bhairava Ashtakam is said to protect the Lagna by purifying toxins and negativities. Why toxins? Why purification of toxins and negativities? Because For for emotional imbalance to happen, those toxins and negativities, they have to gather in your head. Only if they gather in your head will they manage to go into the body, right? So this is very, very important. The if we maybe will do a we'll do a paid course on medical astrology, there you will understand that all the toxins and negativities that are responsible for health and illness, they are everything. The root of everything is the mind. Okay, if you manage to purify the mind, the body is just a it is just a liability, right? The body is just the body just becomes a liability. So all remedies of grahas, whichever remedy you are doing, everything starts by changing your mental consciousness so that the body can follow. All right. So Kantakshani, this is a very painful period when Saturn is transiting the 8th house or its trines. So whenever Saturn is transiting the 8th house or its trines, what are the trines of the 8th house? The 12th house and the 4th house. Okay, so Saturn transiting the 8th house or its trines can cause problems with health and finances. The situation is akin to having a thorn, kanta, struck against your flesh and can be traumatic if a negative dasha is also running simultaneously. So one thing to remember during Kantakshani is that if you're running a very favorable dasha or the dasha of a planet, which is favorable to your Lagna Lord as well as to your, as well as to Saturn, then most of the negativities, they don't show up, right? Most of the negativities are reduced. But if you're running a negative dasha or the dasha of a planet which is an enemy of Saturn, then all the problems will start coming up. Okay. And God bless that person who has to, who has to endure Kantakshani as well as Sadisati together. That can be extremely, extremely traumatic, right? So suppose your moon is in the 8th house. This is, I know who I'm talking about. I hope the other person also knows. So if the moon is in the 8th house and Saturn is transiting the 8th house, then this is a very dreadful situation. It can cause tremendous damage to the health of that person. Okay. As the Karaka of the 8th house, Saturn will only activate the problems. So Saturn is not causing the problems. Please understand this. Saturn is activating the problems. Problems will relate to the destruction of the house containing the 8th lord. Okay. So wherever the 8th lord is positioned or wherever the 8th lord is seated, the problems will come from that house. It will not come from Saturn. It will come from that house where the 8th lord is seated. The 8th lord will destroy the area of life that has a weak Karaka of the house it is destroying. So suppose the 8th lord is seated in the 4th house and Venus is weak, it will hurt vehicles. Similarly, if Mars is weak, it will hurt properties. So this is a problem, isn't it? 8th lord in 4th, but what aspect is it hurting? Now we know that what if Saturn itself is the 8th lord? Then see where Saturn is seated. So suppose the 8th lord is going to the 4th house. So there are 3 Karakas for the 4th house. Okay, there are 3 Karakas for the 4th house. The primary, the primary Karaka is Chandra. Okay, the secondary Karaka is Venus along with Mars. So Chandra is the Karaka for motherhood, motherland, right? Mangala is the Karaka for your landed properties, and Shukra is the Karaka for your luxuries and comforts. Okay, so if the 8th lord is in the 4th house, what happens? Your Venus, and if your Venus is weak, it will hurt vehicles. Similarly, if Mars is weak, it will hurt properties. Okay, so problems will come from these areas. Now we look at a very interesting situation. Suppose the 8th lord is in the 10th house. What happens then? 8th lord in the 10th house, the person would be earning money from other people's, would be making money from other people's money, or would be working in the insurance sector, because the insurance is nothing but, but other people's money. The person can also be related to banking. But now just tell me, what if 8th lord is in the 4th house? How many Karakas does the 10th house have? I'm sorry. If the 8th lord is in the 10th house, then let's see what the problems will happen. How many Karakas does the 10th house have? The 10th house has 5 Karakas, the highest for all the houses. Okay, this is the reason why both malefics and benefics do generally well in the 10th house. The primary Karaka for 10th house is Mercury. Okay, this is the primary Karaka because Mercury relates to the income that we are getting from work. Without income, you don't like to work unless and until you are doing charity. Okay, but then for work to happen, someone has to create the job. Who is creating the job for you? That is Surya. Okay, Surya is creating the job for you. Then what happens? Suppose one job is getting created and you are asked to join that organization. What will happen is that your mind has to agree, right? Your mind has to agree. So that for the Karaka for that becomes Chandra. If your mind is not agreeing, even even if that organization is paying you say 1 lakh rupees a month, you'll still, you'll still be hesitant about going to work every morning. Then the other Karaka is Jupiter, Guru. Why Guru? Because he is related to your promotions. He is related to your expansions. If you are doing a business, you cannot, you cannot remain at the starting point all your life. You have to expand your business. You have to grow in your business. Similarly, if you're doing a job, you have to get a promotion. You have to get a salary increase. So all that is dependent on Guru. And the last Karaka is Saturn itself. Why? Because Saturn is representing how hard you can work in that organization or how hard you are working in that job role. So what is happening is, suppose the 8th lord is in the 10th house and Guru is there. What are the possible results? Promotion nahi milega. Your business will not expand. Every time you think of expanding your business, all of a sudden something will happen that will cause a problem. Okay. Suppose Chandra is weak. The 8th lord is in the 10th house and Chandra is weak. What will happen? You'll hate your job. Okay. You will hate your job. That is how you look at it. So if you are having a client or maybe someone who is actually hating his or her job, just see how Chandra is placed in the chart. You will understand. Okay, if Chandra is malefic or if Chandra is placed with enemy grahas, then the person will absolutely hate his work. Okay, so that is how you look at Kantakshani. The remedy is to take a Diksha in Gayatri Mantra and do the mantra daily as prescribed by the Diksha Guru. So this is a difficult remedy, I agree, because not everyone can get a Gayatri Diksha. But if if your Guru is worth his salt, okay, it would be my mistake to say that no Guru is higher or lower. But if you're actually coming across a very genuine Guru, then the first Diksha that you would get would be into the Gayatri. Okay, now this Gayatri Diksha is not, it is not only akin to the Gayatri mantra that you hear. It could be any Gayatri mantra. Suppose you are getting a Diksha in Shiva Gayatri, or you are getting a Diksha in Kalika Gayatri, or you may be getting a Diksha in Lakshmi Gayatri. So it could be any Diksha. And then the mantra must be done daily as recommended by the Diksha Guru. So the other remedy is to get a Rudri path done either at home or at the temple following correct Shastra procedures. So this is another way of purifying the Kantakshani. Right, so get a Rudri path done at a home or a temple following strict Shastric procedures. So for Diksha and Gayatri Mantra, one can Google up Gayatri Parivar and acquire relevant information. So this is one organization that has been providing a lot of Dikshas on Gayatri Mantra, and people have actually benefited a lot. That is the reason I have included the name of their organization. Okay, so just Google up Gayatri Parivar and see how they are helping you to get this Gayatri Diksha. Okay. All right. So Marana Karaka Sthana Shani. So we know that Saturn is MKS in the first house. This is where he feels like dying. Saturn in the Lagna or the Arudha Lagna or the Upapada Lagna will suffocate the Bhava, and the significations of that area of life will feel like dying. So every time Saturn is positioned in the Lagna or in the Arudha Lagna or in the Upapada Lagna, he will suffocate the Bhava. That means the significations will be highly impacted. For example, Saturn with Upapada Lagna will suffocate the spouse and the marriage will experience death-like pain. So every time Saturn goes into Upapada Lagna, once your spouse marries you, he or she will feel very, very suffocated. And once he or she starts feeling suffocated, what happens? The marriage will eventually suffer. Okay. Similarly, Saturn in the Arudha Lagna can be a very big destroyer of reputation by means of lies. Okay. So you can have a very good reputation. Suppose the Lord of your Arudha Lagna is well placed and you have a very good reputation. All of a sudden, if Saturn is there, something will happen that will destroy your reputation, or something will happen that will choke up your reputation. Okay. The remedy is the worship of Jyotirlingam associated with Tula or Libra along with the appropriate Shiva Abhisheka. So there are 12 Jyotirlingas associated with the 12 signs. So the remedy is to worship the Jyotirlingam which is associated with Tula or Libra. So, and then perform a Rudra Abhishek while chanting that mantra. right? Additionally, a ruby may also be recommended to such natives if the sun is well placed and rules a kendra or a kona bhava. So I am generally, people who have consulted with me or people who have spoken to me, they would very well know that I'm not very fond of gemstones, but I'm just making an exception here. So if Saturn is placed in MKS, then as I said, worshipping the sun can be a great remedy. So if the sun is well placed and rules a Kendra or a Kona Bhava, these two conditions have to be simultaneously satisfied. It is not that only if the sun is well placed, you will take a ruby. No, the sun has to be well placed. It has to rule a Kendra or a Kona Bhava. So these two are the conditions that would call for a ruby, right? And the mantra for the Tula Lagna Shivling or the Libra Lagna Shivling is Om Namah Shivaya Kalishwaraya Hom Jum Sah. Om Namah Shivaya Kalishwaraya Hom Jum Sah. Okay, so we come to the end of it, right? So in the last part of this masterclass, we will be, if sun is debilitated, no, sun has to be well placed. That's what I said. Sun has to be well placed. So in the last part, we will we'll wrap up this masterclass, and then we can go for Ketu, as Dr. Saab has said, but maybe we can have a poll on what people want to do next. All right, I'll just stop my screen share. If anyone has any question, the forum is very much open for it.
Sir, I want to know the Shurya mantra you have told, the timing is before 9 a.m., right?
It can be, if you're not doing a remedy for a job, it can be before 10 a.m. also. If you're not doing it for a job, if you're just doing it, for improving your finances or maybe for other things, it can be 10 a.m.
Right. And the Vishnu mantra can be done at any point of time or in the morning preferably?
Which one, sir?
Vishnu mantra.
Preferably, see, Saturn is a night strong planet. Okay.
Right.
Saturn is a night strong planet. So it is advisable you do it at night. That is how it works.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So for job, red flower is needed. Yes. For job, if you're doing a remedy for that job, then red flower is needed. But then the mantra will come from the placement of sun in the horoscope. Okay. So, all right. Anyways, this was supposed to be a short class. So I'll see you all tomorrow for the Panchanga class. Those who have enrolled, we'll have it at 7:30. And yes, Bikong, I had promised at the end of at the end of the class, we'll have a discussion on how to do the mantras. Okay. So for doing mantras, number one, you have to know that you have to take a sankalpa. Okay. So take some water on your hand, on your palm, that is. Don't hold it very, very tight, right? Just close your fist very, very slowly, very, very gently, and then say whatever you are intending. Okay. And before starting with the mantra, you should write down whatever you are trying to, whatever you're trying to achieve using that mantra, you should write it down on a piece of paper. And before taking that sankalpa with water on your hands, place that piece of paper at a place where it will not be disturbed for the next 41 days. Okay. Then don't sit on the ground directly. You can sit on an asana or a mat or a cot, whatever it is. Don't sit on the bed. You can sit on a sofa. You can sit on a chair. That is okay. But don't sit on the bed, because, all mantras, the result of all mantras are directed towards the sun, and bed is represented by Venus. Okay. So Libra debilitates the sun. That is the reason you should not sit on the bed. And then start with the mantra. So the promise, whatever, how many times you do, that depends on you. One mala is minimum. But if you are, say, at the time of taking the sankalpa, you are saying that till the work is done, I will do 5 malas of the mantra, or for 41 days, I'll do 5 malas of the mantra. Then you do according to your wish. And then sit facing east, preferably. That is the most preferred direction. Okay. For normal people, that is the most preferred direction. And then start with the mantras without falling asleep. Because if you are, if you are going too deep into the mantras, it is a possibility that you can fall asleep. And the other thing is that first memorize the mantra before reciting, because the mantra will not work if you are, if you are not memorizing it. So please note that I'm not talking about any ashtakam or something like that. I'm just saying about a mantra. I'm not saying that you have to recite the Kala Bhairava ashtakam by heart and then those things will start happening. No, I'm just saying about a mantra. Suppose Om Grene Surya Adityaya. So if you have to say such a simple mantra by looking at things for every time, by looking at things every time, then obviously there would be a problem. It will not work. Okay, so please memorize the mantra before saying it, and that is how it works.
It is not required to chant Surya mantra looking at Surya after taking shower.
Not necessary, Dr. Saab, because you can sit facing east. East is anyways, east is anyways the direction of Surya.
But if you do that, that is okay, right?
Right. That is very much okay.
That is not.
That is very much okay. All right. So hopefully others don't have any questions. And thank you all for joining. So from the next Saturday onwards, this will be last Saturday of the Saturn masterclass. And thereafter, we will have a poll on, we'll have a poll on what to do with the water on the palm. Yes, she has asked a very important question. What to do with the water on the palm? Just bend your fingers so that water falls via your fingers on the ground. Okay, after taking the sankalpa, after opening the fist, just bend your fingers so that water falls in front of you over those fingers. Okay, and this is a good trick to see. I'm just mentioning you a trick. Suppose you are taking some water on your palm and then trying to close that palm. If the water is falling out through the corners of your palm, either through the left or the right, you can be sure that there are some problems with the dushtanas in the horoscope. Please check that out. Okay, even when you're doing tarpana, suppose you're taking water on the palm and the water is falling in from the sides, then there would be a problem with the dushtanas. Okay, this is a way to see it. All right. Okay, so after next Saturday's class, we'll have a poll on what to do. Okay, and hopefully I'll see every one of you for the Panchanga class, because we have a lot to cover. Those classes will go on for maybe 15 to 20 classes. Nevertheless, all right, thank you so much. Namaste to everyone. Om Gurave Namaha.